So my family arrived in Jamaica in October of 1992, and the common entrance examination was always at that time taken in January of the 6th grade year. So I arrived on the island in October, and in 3 months I was going to be taking this test. Now I had just skipped 5th grade. I was in a completely new country, foreign country. I was really struggling actually to understand a lot of the accents that people spoke in, because although English is the official language in Jamaica, the people who are living there, especially in the country areas where I was, they spoke with a very strong Jamaican accent, and a lot of what they spoke in everyday conversation was Patois, which is the dialect that's there. And as a 10-year-old, it was really difficult for me to understand this, and people had to speak very slowly for me, and so I was just kind of tossed into 6th grade. I arrived a month into the school year, and all that we were doing in my classes was studying up for this exam, this common entrance examination, and it was a huge deal. All the students, other 20-ish students in my class, had been preparing for this exam since kindergarten, because this exam determined what high school you got into and whether you could go to the best schools or whether you could only go to the second best schools, or even if you didn't score well enough, you might go back a year and take it again the next year to give you better chances of getting into different schools. So this was huge, and most of these students had been preparing for it for their entire school career, really. So I arrived on the island, and I had 3 months to make sure I was ready to take this exam that was going to basically determine whether or not I got to go to the best school in the area, which was Hampton School. And so I got there, and we were doing test prep. Think about SATs, but for 10 and 11-year-olds. It's that level of preparation. And so we were doing test prep all the time. We were brushing up on math concepts, and I'd missed an entire year of math, so I completely didn't learn anything about how to take care of fractions. Skipped that whole year. And we're getting ready for this exam, and I'm struggling to understand the language. And there are things I don't know about the culture. And it's interesting because as a homeschool parent, I am not thrilled with tests in general, and part of it is because of my experience as a child coming into a foreign country and being expected to take their standardized tests, and recognizing that standardized testing is necessarily influenced by the culture it's in. There were questions that I got wrong because I didn't know things about the culture. I remember a specific question where it was supposed to be testing English grammar knowledge, but in order to answer the question correctly, you needed to know who Gary Sobers was and what sport he played. Now, that's not actually English knowledge, but any child who had grown up in Jamaica knew who this cricket player was. I had no idea. I didn't hardly even know anything about cricket whatsoever. I mean, it was a new sport to me. And yet, this was a standardized test I was preparing to take. I can't even really adequately describe the level of pressure that students going in to take this test felt. I mean, most of them had been studying through the summer in preparation for this test, the common entrance examination. And when we had visited Jamaica in the summer to see, so my parents could see the work that we were going to possibly be doing and decide whether this was really where they were supposed to be, I had attended a couple of these classes, and it was just test prep. It was like I said, think about SAT prep classes that you would pay to send your kid to.